This is Shamrock Sports.
Coming up on this week's episode, a historic night in Charlottesville, where some of the questions plaguing the women's basketball team answered. And our analysts are hitting the ice with men's hockey having a big matchup against Penn State in Compton. Who does Jeff Jackson need to lean on? And with a week off, our men's basketball provides us an opportunity to look back and at a look at what's to come for this fresh-faced Irish team. All that and more. The first episode of the second semester of Shamrock Sports starts right now. Welcome to the second floor of the Duncan Student Center alongside Tyler Reedy, JJ Post. I am Jacob Iron. So happy to have you with us. Hope your Christmases were pretty good. Get some good stuff in the stockings?
You bet.
Can't ask for much more than.
Can't ask for much more indeed, as we will get us kicked off right here on this winter sports check-in episode. And we're going to start with our women's basketball team, who had a big night last night in Charlottesville. Multiple records were set. Let's start early in the first quarter as Notre Dame taken on Virginia. Sonia Citron started the scoring for the Irish with a three that went swish. ND would lead, and they would lead the entire game from tip to close. Later in the first, with 3:31 remaining, Irish leading by three, Hannah Hidalgo steals the pass from Kimora Johnson, and her defense turns to offense. Heading to the second quarter, 7:13 left in the half. Notre Dame up 28-22. Taylor Laudenbach, the center from deep, hits the nylon. UVA within three. In response to Lauterbach, Hidalgo passes to an open Citron. Oh yeah, that's going in. Nets the three. Notre Dame back up six. Now let's move to the third quarter. We go. Irish leading by 8 with 8:23 left in the quarter. Johnson tries to spin past Hidalgo. Her pocket is picked, and Citron finds an open Anna DeWolf. ND up 10. Now, in the fourth quarter, Irish leading by 14 with 6:12 left to go. Johnson sees an open Paris Clark, who hits the three. UVA within 11. However, their run would come just too late. Notre Dame wins 86-76. Irish improve to 13-3 on the season. This has been a season for this women's basketball team that's been turbulent nonetheless. There's no way around it. You've had an injury bug. What did you see from them last night? You get Citron, who started to look back to be one of those star players, but overall, as a game, what did you think?
I think this is the kind of game that kind of proves why you shouldn't rush Olivia Miles back for Notre Dame. For those who maybe are unaware about the team and where we're at right now, Olivia Miles tore ACL at the end of last season. It's been kind of been up in the air all year about what her timetable for return is, and I think this game was kind of proof of concept for why bringing Olivia Miles back early. If she's ready to go, bring her back by all means. But for forcing her back is not the right move, because this team, I think we all know they have talent. I think we also all know that Olivia Miles is not fundamentally changing the ceiling of this team. This is a team that can beat teams like UVA without her, and it's a team that probably won't be challenging for the Final Four without her, and maybe with her probably still wouldn't be challenging for the Final Four. But what this game did allow is for a player like Hannah Hidalgo, who is clearly an extremely talented player that will be at Notre Dame and a star for years to come. It let her figure out on her own, when you're the point guard against a team that's closing out you in the fourth quarter, that they're bearing in, let her figure out how to win games when you are trying to control the tempo in a game that's kind of going haywire. This is a game where Notre Dame, if they had Olivia Miles on the floor, probably wins by 20 without much issue. Yeah. But without her on the floor, they made their young players, Hannah Hidalgo and also Sonia Citron, who's playing an expanded role compared to what she had last year, pre-Miles injury, and especially compared to 2021 when she first broke out. They're players that are learning how to be the leaders on this team, and even though maybe this year we're not going to see that end in some deep tournament run, this will only help the team more when they hit 2024, and once you get Kate Koval in, once you get Olivia Miles back, once you get Kassan Proserek, then when the team's at full strength, not only will they be quality, they'll be experienced.
Yeah, let's take a look at that box score. It was a strong night overall for the entirety of this Irish team. You look at winning by 10 at this moment, and then you look at field goal percentage, 44%, 3-point, 3 for 14, which is a number that would scare me a little bit. If you're Neil Ivey, this is a team that is a little guard heavy, that has three, but they showed they could get it done, Tyler.
Yeah, well, here's what the graphic doesn't show, that box score. Free throws. Notre Dame was at the line 44 times last night, 33 made, 75% clip, and It's not an ideal percentage, but you certainly made enough to win. And that's a big thing for Notre Dame under Neil Ivey. Getting into the paint, having success on the inside. We saw a couple games to start ACC play, those losses against Syracuse, North Carolina. Notre Dame had some issues outscoring their opponents in the paint, and Neil Ivey was very adamant about it. We can't let that happen. That's not who we are. We need to take back the painted area of the basketball court, especially on the offensive end, and Notre Dame certainly did that. Got to the line last night, and as you said, JJ, the stars really shine, Hidalgo and Citron. And I mean, remember, we're still only a couple weeks removed from Notre Dame having to play a 6, even 5-player rotation. So to have those two stars going the way they're going right now, each putting up 20+, that's big.
Yeah, Citron scores her 1,000th point with a 28-point showing. There was early on in her walk back that it looked like this wasn't going to be the same Citron that we had seen. It looked a little immobile. She didn't really have the same mobility, but answers that pretty firmly with 28 last night.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't think she's back at full strength, in all honesty. There are moments where you see they hit that full court pass and, you know, maybe she, before injury, steps on the accelerator a little more, and instead she's kind of hesitating, steadying herself. And that's normal. She's wearing, if you, that's a pre-injury highlight. If you see in the games from last night, she's wearing like the Terminator brace on her leg. It's clear she's not at full strength, and once she gets the brace off, she will be moving much quicker. And I think, honestly, they might have, I don't know what the injury situation is. It wouldn't surprise me if they kind of needed her to accelerate that timeline, get the UNC game that she did make her return in was against a good team that they were basically playing a 6-7-man rotation in, and Citron, you know, I think it was clear was not 100% back, and I don't think we should expect her to be 100% back until we hit February, March, when that brace comes off. As of right now, you're just trying to get her back in the rhythm, get a little better from 3, because you saw in the first 2 games, that's, you know, shooting strokes, not something you just, you know, have. You got to get back in the rhythm. She's still getting her rhythm back, and I think this last game was a nice step forward to show that the volume still can be there, because the first 2 games were maybe a little lower in volume in terms of what she was producing. They didn't have her shooting the ball as much. That game was Sonia Citron at her best. You see the leg brace there. That game was Sonia Citron at her best, and I think it shows once the brace off, this is a player Notre Dame will be relying on to give them 20 points tonight.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Citron, she was good last night, but someone you got to look at overall has been Hannah Hidalgo, who's been allowing this Notre Dame team to still be keeping air in their tires a little bit when they were without Citron. She's been fabulous, Tyler.
She's amazing. She is such a spark off the court, on the court. It's amazing to watch the contrast between her and Citron during shoot-around. You know, Citron's that calm, stoic presence. You never see her facial expression change. And then Hannah, every other shot she misses, she's barking at herself. And that's just how locked in she is. She's so engaged in the game at all times. And we see her in so many different moments, especially when Notre Dame's playing at home and you got the crowd behind her. You know, she'll go with one of those steal opportunities and go back the other way and score 2, or drop a sick pass underneath to Sonia Citron or an interior player for Notre Dame, and, you know, let out that big flex and big scream. She is such an energizer for Notre Dame, and her play has been so versatile. And it's just amazing to me how we saw her a month into the season putting up those incredible numbers, the 12-steal game, the 31-point debut, and we're all just waiting to see, like, okay, when's the drop-off going to happen? When is the freshman struggle going to set in? And when is she going to kind of start to realize what playing ACC basketball is all about? That hasn't happened yet. She just kept on going right on through, and that's been the most amazing thing to see for her, for me.
Yeah, we've mentioned this on the program before, but Hannah Hidalgo is exactly what this Notre Dame team needed in more ways than just being an on-court presence. She is a leader beyond her years as a freshman. She is a tempo setter. You know, you look at her when she's, you know, going in and getting the steals from the top bottom. You know, Ivy's talked about this before. Notre Dame is now able to defend the court effectively the entire way, because Hidalgo will pick players up right when the ball's inbounded. You know, I think we all knew Hidalgo with her high recruiting ranking. You know, anyone who watched her in high school knew she was going to be contributing immediately because she's a fantastic player. But the mentality element she brings, the element of firing up the team, firing up the crowd, that's something that Notre Dame, you know, I don't think heading the season with Olivia Miles out, they didn't really have that sort of presence, that sort of spark plug. Hidalgo, in addition to being a fantastic player, has been that spark plug, and I don't think you see that often for a freshman playing the role she has.
Yeah, she has been playing one of those top roles within the ACC and continues to be one of the best. Here, as we look ahead, while we were away from campus, someone was staying in his office, and that was Marcus Freeman. He was picking up some big transfers. Our own Kian Bagenstos breaks down all the comings and goings of the Goog. Kian?
Some would say this college football offseason has been the most frantic one in history, with conference realignment, the continuing NIL battle, the shocking retirement of the legendary Nick Saban, and Harbaugh's potential move to the NFL. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish have certainly added to this trend, with major offensive pieces entering the transfer portal after the shocking firing of wide receiver coach Chancey Stuckey. To minimize damage and ensure Notre Dame can take advantage of the expanded playoff pool next year, Marcus Freeman has hit the transfer portal hard, not only to fill missing holes, but upgrade on both sides of the ball. Starting with the outgoing Notre Dame Fighting Irish transfers, Chris Tyree, a.k.a. Jet, one of ND's big return men over his 4 years with the university. 1,176 return yards, 1 touchdown. Converted a wide receiver in his last year and had 484 receiving yards and 18.6 yards per reception, for 14th best in the country in yards per reception. Tyree's taking his talents to ACC team UVA Hoos for his 5th year, so ND will see him again next year on the opposing side. Another ND receiver entering the transfer portal is Tobias Merriweather, a terrific deep threat player for ND over his 2 years with the university. He had a 41-yard TD against Stanford last year and 20.3 yards per reception this year, which is 8th best in the country. Unfortunately, Merriweather was heavily underutilized at Notre Dame, which really would have helped the subpar QB play that ND has been plagued with over the last 2 years. After being crystal balled to Washington, his hometown, Merriweather will not be going to Washington. He will be taking his talents to the California Golden Bears, who are moving to the ACC next season. After that, another receiver who will be entering the transfer portal is Rico Flores Jr. During his freshman year, Rico Flores was very under the radar and not predicted to do much. However, Rico Flores was 3rd on the team in receiving yards and 2nd in receptions on the team, and had a massive touchdown against OSU to take the lead in 102 yards and 8 receptions in the blowout win against Wake Forest. Rico Flores Jr. will also be going to California to play with Chip Kelly in the UCLA Bruins, who will be moving to the Big Ten next year. The 4th offensive weapon who is entering the transfer portal is Holden Staes. He only recorded stats in 1 season with the Irish, where he was critical in the red zone, 2 red zone TDs, and an emerging deep threat. 35 and 40-yard touchdowns against NC State. Unfortunately, Staes will not be able to further his development with the Irish. He will not be able to further develop with the Irish because he will be taking his talents to Rocky Top in the SEC to finish his college career with the Tennessee Volunteers. And now, let's see the big fish Marcus Freeman reeled in this offseason. First up, we have the big-name quarterback, Riley Leonard. Deja vu, just like last year, ND will be picking up an elite senior quarterback from the ACC in the transfer portal. This time, it's Riley Leonard from Duke University, with his coach Mike Elko leading for Texas A&M. Leonard actually played against the Irish last year, posting a 44.4% completion percentage, 134 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and 88 rushing yards on 18 carries. Riley Leonard is not as experienced as Sam Hartman, as he only played in 7 games last year and only threw 62 passes his freshman year. However, Riley Leonard has had only 1 full season, which is 2022. Riley Leonard is not as prolific in passing as Sam Hartman was at Wake Forest, as in his full season 2022, he only had 20 touchdowns and 3,000 yards passing, and only posted 1,102 yards in 7 games last year. But he's extremely accurate and smart with the football, as he only threw 6 interceptions in 2022. However, Riley Leonard is a lot more mobile than Sam Hartman was, as he had 700 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns in 2022, and 352 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 6.1 yards per carry last year. Riley Leonard was also predicted as a potential first-round pick last year before getting hurt due to his dual-threat production. Overall, with an elite offensive coordinator and Mike Denbrock, who just coached Jane Daniels to a Heisman season, Riley Leonard should see a major upgrade in passing production and should be one of the elite dual-threat quarterbacks in the country next year. Next up, to replace the loss of Tyree Merriweather, Notre Dame looks to another ACC foe in the Clemson Tigers to grab receiver Beaux Collins. Collins has only surpassed 500 yards once, but is a greater deep threat, as he has averaged over 13 yards per reception in all of his 3 years with the Clemson Tigers. Given that Collins has played with DJ Ugalegi and Cade Klubnik, not truly elite quarterbacks, not truly elite, Riley Leonard will be a huge upgrade for Collins, and she should see a lot more production. Next up, one of Riley Leonard's Duke buddies is also coming down to South Bend. RJ Open, the defensive end, is a 6-year player who has recorded 4+ sacks in 3 years and has caused 5 turnovers in his entire career. We'll give Andy valuable pass rushing on the D-line that will cover the loss of Riley Mills and Javante John Baptiste. Next up, Northwestern safety Rod Hurd II. ND, once again, will be getting a safety from Northwestern. Brandon Joseph transferred from Northwestern in 2022. Hurd had a very productive 3 years with the Wildcats as he had 2 forced fumbles in 2021, a sack, forced fumble, and a pick in 2022, along with 70 tackles in 2022, 85 tackles, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, 1 pick in 2023. So that's it for the transfer portal news right now. Obviously got an elite quarterback, which is what this team really needs. Got a great but not truly elite safety, and got some solid number 2 receivers to go behind Greathouse. With that, let's turn it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Kian. A lot of moving parts there. It's going to be an interesting spring game here in April, but there's a big game on the ice tonight in Compton Family Ice Arena. We brought in our foremost hockey insiders, Tyler Reedy and Andrew McGinnis. They know what to talk about here ahead of a big game against these Nittany Lions. This team, very young, but you got to lean on some veterans to be able to try and get yourself into the Big Ten tournament, being able to host the Big Ten, and then hopefully try and even play for an NCAA tournament. But if you're going to do that, that's got to happen now.
This team's in a very, very similar position to what we saw last season. In fact, ended the first half with the exact same record in conference play. You're sitting just outside that top 20. You've been in and out all season, and now you're inside essentially the final month with the bye week coming up next week of this Big Ten regular season. You've got to make a push. Right now, Notre Dame right on that edge, currently in position to host home ice for the Big Ten quarterfinals as the 4th seed, but you've got to keep going. You've got to pick up some big wins down the stretch, not just to clinch that side of it, but also give yourself a little bit of insurance in case you get bounced early like last season to try and make that NCAA tournament at large. But got to start stacking wins, and this weekend's a good time for it.
And a way you can stack them is off the back of Ryan Bischel.
Yeah, so you guys in particular know, you, Jake, were concerned about Ryan Bischel at the start of this season. I really was never worried about him. A goaltender like Ryan Bischel is kind of the exception to the rule that goaltending is random, at least at the college level. Just someone who's been locked in for Notre Dame throughout the last couple seasons. Even when he was kind of the 1B to Matt Galida a couple seasons back, he was generally playing very good hockey. Last year, one of the top goaltenders in all of the NCAA, and again, this season he's been fantastic. After a bit of a slow start, he certainly picked his game right back up to, the level that he expects it to be at. And for this Notre Dame team, it's always nice to know that you have a goaltender like that behind you, because these young players you talked about, Jake, they're going to make mistakes, but you want them to keep trying stuff. You don't want to discourage their creativity, stunt their development. And it's easier for the team to keep winning when those mistakes happen when you have a goaltender like Bischel behind you.
And remember, Notre Dame's had a lot of moving pieces defensively in front of him. We've seen a couple lapse games defensively for the Irish, but Jake Boltman was out last week at Ohio State. He'll be back, but now Drew Bavaro's got a suspension going into tonight with some altercations at the end of the series in Columbus last weekend. So a lot of moving pieces in front of him. Jeff Jackson trying to find a way to string it together, but Bischel's the rock. You're absolutely right.
Seen it. Has 3 shutouts, also doing great work off the ice as well. Nominee for College Hockey Humanitarian Award of the Year. So that's pretty big for Ryan Bischel, and I'm very open about it. This is a Penn State team that had my concerns here. They came in last year round top 20 in goaltending. Now they rank almost dead last in college hockey. I'm not saying it, but could goaltending be a fluke? I think it could be. But now if you move on and keep pushing, now you looked at the defensive side. Now you got to go to Landon Slager on the attack, who's playing like a star player, like Notre Dame needs him to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And last year was a really disappointing season for Landon Slager. But if you kind of looked at the numbers, you could kind of see that a bounce back was coming. His shooting percentage for most, if not all, of last season was comically low. I mean, you're talking about a guy who had scored on 13, 14% of his shots the first 2 years of his career, was down at like 5-6% for a good chunk of last season. Predictably, that positive regression has come, but give him some credit as well, too. He's been able to get to the dirty areas. He's also been able to get to the front of the net, too, a lot and score a lot of really skilled goals as well. Obviously, someone who's hoping to have an NHL future. He's a Chicago Blackhawks prospect, and after a bit of a concerning season last year, he looks to be right back on track with his development, and he's been the star scorer this Notre Dame team was sorely lacking a year ago.
Yeah, you look at Slager, it's just fabulous, finding himself in front of the net and also finding the puck to hit the nylon, which has been so good for Landon Slager this year. 15 goals, 6 assists, 21 points. Damn, guy's pretty hot right now. I'm just saying, don't come calling. He's a soaring Slager. Oh boy. But on this walk-the-walk week here on the campus of the University of Notre Dame, our own John Bailey took a look at a prestigious award Notre Dame's athletic department won this past weekend.
Earlier this week, Monday, Americans celebrated the life and legacy of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King, a civil rights icon that advocated for racial equality, the working class, and the oppressed around the world, would have turned 95 on Monday. He was just 39 when he was assassinated on the balcony of a Memphis motel in 1968. 4 years prior, Notre Dame's Father Hesburgh joined Reverend King at a civil rights rally inside Soldier Field in Chicago to endorse President Lyndon Johnson's milestone Civil Rights Act. The two men stood hand in hand, preaching their message of love and equality while singing "We Shall Overcome." This scene was later immortalized in a statue by Granger native sculptor Tuck Langland in downtown South Bend. Even 61 years after the March on Washington, King's dream remains unfulfilled. However, the University of Notre Dame remains committed to honoring his legacy by inspiring its students to the cause of equality and justice to all Americans, regardless of their race. On January 10th, the NCAA and Minority Opportunities Athletic Association honored Notre Dame with the 2024 Award for Diversity and Inclusion for their Together Irish program. Big change starts small. That, in part, is the hope behind the Together Irish program, which has served as a redefinition of the athletics department's commitment to social change via education, engagement, and enrichment. The Irish hope that what occurs through the initiative on their campus in the South Bend community can create ripples of positive change across the world. Building off the school's Stand Together campaign from 2020 to 22, Together Irish launched prior to the 2022-23 academic year. Its areas of impact have been wide-ranging, including athletics events dedicated to a specific purpose, campus-wide initiatives, community partnerships, holiday celebrations, and additional staffing support.
It's central to who we are to be a community where everyone feels respected, where everyone, simply by being who they are, everyone feels part of the community, everyone feels uplifted by it and contributes to it.
One of Together Irish's most notable activities involved Notre Dame's home football game against Tennessee State last fall. Dubbed TSUND, the game was Notre Dame's first against a historically black college or university. The two schools partnered to host more than 15 featured events over the weekend. These included academic exhibits, student career exploration activities, cultural exchanges and social gatherings, special in-game elements, and the launch of a ticket initiative that engaged more than 30 nonprofit organizations and community partners working to address critical needs for vulnerable populations. Other events in the past year included the Together Irish Town Hall, a Juneteenth celebration, and Walk the Walk Week, when more than 250 student athletes, coaches, and staff representing 20 athletics programs joined together across 9 sites throughout South Bend for a day of community service on Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 2023. While events like these are important, Notre Dame Athletics Director Jack Swarbrick said part of what has made Irish Together so successful is how ingrained it is in the culture at Notre Dame. That's why he is so confident that in the future, the program's impact will continue to grow. Reporting from the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Center at La Fortune Student Center, I'm John Bailey. Back to you.
Thank you so much, John. Great work by our entire athletic department in getting that silver award honor. Back with JJ Post stepping back in for men's basketball. This is a fresh team, new face, only turned 1.6% of points. They've had their highs, they've had their lows. But one of their highs got to be right now. Braden Shrewsbury, the coach's son, and has been playing well and got the honor of ACC Rookie of the Week. What have you seen out of his game so far?
I mean, he's starting to develop confidence in that shooting stroke that, I think coming in, he was kind of tabbed as maybe the player that could space the floor for this team a little more. But for the first month, 2 months of the season, we didn't really see that. He looked, I don't know if it was rusty, lack of confidence. He wasn't hitting threes, and he was on the court for a decent amount of time, but just the production wasn't there. The last month or so, he's really stepped into that role, and you can, see he's finding his spots, and not just finding them, he's hitting them. Against Georgia Tech on the road, a venue Notre Dame has had trouble with in the past. Shrewsbury stepped up big in that game, and it's not the first game where Shrewsbury has kind of stepped into that role as the team's primary space, the team's primary threat from deep, made a couple threes, and really this Notre Dame team, I don't think they're ever going to be exactly an offensive juggernaut, but I don't think you can question this team is a far more dangerous team on offense when they have someone who from the three-point line can space the floor a little bit, because this Notre Dame team, as a unit, is one of the worst teams in the entirety of D1 at shooting the three-point ball. If Shrewsbury can pick up the pace a little more, that metric won't go up to maybe the top 100, but they can at least get out of the bottom 300.
A metric that Notre Dame doesn't want to look at, but has to look at right now, is their percentage from the stripe. It is abysmal. and it is cost them games. You can look at the NC State game and you can say that cost them the game, the inability to really go take on the free throw line. I understand you have a young team, but you're also talking about D1 athletes not being able to shoot a free throw.
Yeah, you're looking at the difference between a 2-5 ACC record right now and maybe something like 4-3. I mean, it was 3 losses in a row. NC State, Florida State, Boston College to start the new year that were directly impacted in a large part by free throws. And a lot of it has to do with Notre Dame kind of getting the wrong guys to the line. We've seen Matt Zona there, Keba Jai a lot, and it's been kind of a byproduct of Notre Dame rebounding well. They've rebounded surprisingly well to open up the new year in ACC play. Jai, Davis, Booth on the inside, all getting it done. Almost 10 in most games for all 3 of them. But when you grab offensive rebounds, a lot of time you'll take a hack, go to the line, and if you can't convert there, it's an empty possession. And it's something Micah Shrewsbury, as he said, has to try and get cleaned up, and it's something that he's been taking ownership of and trying to get righted here for Notre Dame. So we'll keep an eye on it down the stretch.
Yeah, it's got to be something you look at down the stretch for this team. Like we've touched upon, they have a week off this week. They have a big week next week. They host Miami in an Irish Wear Green game inside Purcell Pavilion, and then the Holy War returns to Purcell as they take on Boston College on Saturday. So it should be a big week for them, getting a week to get back and to get back what's right. We'll take a quick break and be right back. We've got some fun and games to close out this episode of Shamrock Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to ND Sunrise.
This is the review of the Keenan Review.
That's right, we've got a big game in Sin City.
Plot twist, I am the Grim Reaper.
Overall, this year's event was a rousing success.
Would Notre Dame be the first one to accept ASL as a foreign language as a department?
Once again, I'm Elena Morgan from ND Sunrise, signing off.
Welcome you back. We always try to end with some fun and games, and it is a new game we're calling NDTV Wager. Can our most astute, and I mean astute, betting analyst.
Is that a word?
Astute?
Isn't it astute?
All right, let's do this. All right,
the astuteness is on display here.
Perfect. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. First question. They got over and under signs. We got Andrew McGinnis as our scorekeeper. Notre Dame's transfer class was given an A by CBS Sports. How many Notre Dame transfers were rated in the top 100 in CBS Sports transfer class? Over under 6.
I'm going under.
I'm going under as well.
It is the under 4.
All right.
Oben, Jeter, Leonard, and Mitchell. Only 4 here,
Look at the
guys.
kicker.
So, all right, let's check on over with Andrew McGinnis. Andrew, score update.
We did it.
Jake won, me won. All right.
See what you said.
I'm
Way
just hosting.
to edit the whiteboard really quickly.
It's a 1v1.
We had 2 columns on there.
Well, all right, let's go.
I thought he was participating.
No, I like
No,
this.
I'm
We
reading.
want more
I'm reading.
participants.
All right, let's keep going. Sometimes players transfer up to Notre Dame, possibly sacrificing playing time to gain exposure. Other times they transfer down to gain playing time, as was the case with Jean-Baptiste, who had a greater year with 49 tackles, excuse me. Is this over or under the total number of career tackles that Jean-Baptiste had at Ohio State?
Feeling the over.
I'm going under.
Ooh.
It
Under.
is.
All right.
It is the under. 53 at Ohio State in his 4 years. Andrew McGinnis, let's get a score update.
Conclusion over there? What?
Wow.
Just once everyone.
Hold on, Jay.
I'm losing.
Yep,
the
that's all I
scorekeeping.
want. That's all I want. All right, let's keep
Losers and
going.
having fun.
3. Last year, did Notre Dame give transfers more, over, which is the over, or
question.
less, under minutes per game than the national average? See? All right, let's hold them up.
Over.
Over, over. It is the over.
Good stuff.
14th in the country, more time than anybody else. Let's take a look.
I mean, they weren't going to do 3 unders in a row.
Wow.
That's good analysis.
Like, that's just...
Look at
That's
this,
good
people.
analysis.
Just wanted to have fun. All right, let's keep pushing. With the mass exodus from Alabama, Notre Dame may have a chance to sign more players when the... What?
No.
Holy.
No more
Jake
players.
Miller wrote these. I'm just reading them now. Okay, when the transfer portal reopens in the spring, how many players did Freeman sign in the late window last year? Over, under 4?
Is the late window April? I'm going under.
Yeah, late window's April.
Antonio Carter, you will be remembered.
It is the under 2. It was Ford and Carter. Let's take a look over at our score. Beautiful. Man. Andrew McGinnis should have been in this potentially.
I am.
A tighter race.
He is in this.
I keep pointing.
Okay.
He is in this.
All right. All right. Now, this is the big one. This could be the tiebreaker. This is 5th. I don't have any other questions, so we'll have to see.
It could create a tie as
Notre Dame is also replacing a host of players who are leaving for other schools. All the players were highly rated in high school. But does the incoming group have more, which is the over, or less, which is the under, 4 or 5-star high school recruits than the outgoing group? Okay?
I think I'm reading this right.
All right. Under. It is the under with Oben and Leonard at 2 versus Ziegler, Carmody, Stays, Flores, Merriweather, James, and Henderson at 7. We have a tie. I wasn't really envisioning a tie.
So you didn't know the answers before?
No, I know.
No, he did not.
Huge win for the Observer. Huge win for the seniors at the Observer.
Well, I guess it's got to be like Premier League soccer. We're going to end in a tie. But PKs, there's no PKs.
Someone on the spot, Irons. Let's go.
No, not good for me. However, there is one champion on this stage right now, and that is Mr. Tyler Reedy.
Out of here.
He won.
Take the center spot.
He won our picks from fall. We had to do some calculating. We had to do some math. But T. Reed, congratulations, sir.
Yeah.
Your math worked out, even against all the math that Jake Miller put against you.
Yeah, really. I did the calculations about halfway through the year. We would come back from fall break, and Jake Miller put like 15 points on the table pit week. And I did the math in my head. We had 24 available points for the first half of the season. Then I took the lead, and we had 56 for the second half. But I still won. I'm that guy, so there we go. I'll take it.
He got that dog in him.
Yes, sir.
Got that dog in him, indeed. So I think that wraps up our first episode of the second semester. You can stay locked in here to Shamrock Sports for all Irish athletics coverage as we break down all that's going on around campus. For everybody here involved, for both in front of the camera and behind the camera, I'm Jay Byron saying so long and always go Irish.